There is this African proverb: the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. So, will I say all who are Jewish are now to blame for the genocide in Gaza? No. Is all violence bad? Yes. If we do not see the patterns and causes to dysfunctional, abusive, violent behaviours, then we will just label whole families, groups as evil. What is the hope for humanity? Where is the restoration or redemption? Where is forgiveness? If not, this just continues into genocide, where we blame those by association. You are related to such and such. You are friends with so and so. Your family did such and such. So you deserve to be punished, abused, or even killed. It will never end. This is madness. This is what causes forever wars. We need to be able to step back and ask, how can we stop this pattern? For it is a pattern, it is a programming, and it is a wounding. We need to be able to see the pattern, how this has been repeated over generations, over eons and eons. It's tribal. I see at least there is a sense in sports where there is this ritualized tribalism, this game, like in soccer or rugby. I felt I was guilty by association, being the child of my father who almost killed my mother. And so when I was abandoned first by my mother, who left me with my father, though she knew he was abusing me, it was beyond her capacity to do anything else as she was dying of cancer. At that time, as a child, I felt so abandoned. And then my father left me as well. And so I was homeless at 14. Rather than understand or have empathy for this, my family and relatives blamed me, the child. Because I experienced this as a child, and personally experienced not just from family, but friends, and from friends' parents, from the school, from the social services, they all ignored what I was going through. I was just a problem, or a problem to be ignored. So wind forward many, many years. I think it's around 2008 maybe, or I'm not good with time, but when I was an adult, years later, I was called to Bosnia. I was seeing a client for healing, and I was shown a vision, as she was lying there, of pyramids. And they said, there's pyramids in Bosnia. She was from Bosnia, and she said, yes, there are pyramids. No, they're not. Yes, there are. No, they're not. Anyway, short story, cutting a long story short, I ended up going to Bosnia to see the pyramids. If you've not heard of pyramids in Bosnia, have a look. And I experienced the energies of war because of all that they had been through, that civil war in Bosnia. And I used to describe my family upbringing as like a war zone, because it was. And so I stayed with a Bosnian lady, and she and her friends shared their tragic stories with me, and I listened. I felt honoured that they did this, and I felt they knew I understood what war is like. Domestic violence is not only symptomatic of trauma experienced generationally in families, passed on, and passed on. It feeds into and causes global wars, the micro and the macro. Hence this amazing proverb, the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. We know this. A person who is wounded and not healed the trauma as a child can so often repeat the violence in their relationships. And this ripples out in all their relationships. This is what causes children, young people to connect with gangs, trying to find identity, home, but with others that are also wounded. They're caught in the flight, fight, and freeze, probably more fight. Aside from that, when I visited the pyramids in Bosnia, I was shown telepathically, I had lots of downloads and visions of galactic wars. I was told that these pyramids are one of the oldest of pyramids, and they were built by galactic beings. And there had been a lot of conflict around ownership of these pyramids. And while I was in the tunnels underneath the sun pyramid, the solar pyramid, there were galactic beings who were like, or you could call them ghosts. They had died from their physical form. They were physical, but yet were trapped in the astral realm. They hadn't moved on to the light, heaven if you like. Yes, there are aliens in heaven, along with other beings. And they were trapped because they died so tragically in the wars, and they were seeking healing from this pyramid. There's a lot of healing energies. As you walk in the tunnels, you'll go deeper and deeper to the center, the core of the pyramid. It's like you're climbing a mountain. The energy gets higher and higher. And so often people will go there for healing, to sit at the center, at the base of the pyramid. So while I was walking there, I was seeing these ghosts, alien ghosts. I'm laughing because it was the first time I'd seen alien ghosts. I have guides that come and they're not ghosts. But I digress. I won't start getting into how I am able to differentiate, but I am. And what was peculiar was that they started moving through me, through my solar plexus, and then out. I wasn't inviting them consciously to do that, but they did that. And luckily I was with a friend, my Bosnian friend, and she said, it's okay, you're just a gateway, you're just a portal. And I'm like, okay. And it didn't hurt and it didn't harm me. And off they went to the light. Now, a few years later, I received a lucid dream where I was shown that I do and can and how to assist people who have, or any humanoid beings or animals, to pass into the light if they've had a traumatic death. And so I have done that, and I've also had premonitions of if somebody is going to die, or if there's going to be a collective accident. Anyway, I've diverted again. I want to say this. If we are not able to have conversations between those of us who we resonate with, that we have a lot of agreements with, that we see the world similarly, or that we've had similar experiences, if we can't have those challenging conversations with those that we feel relaxed with, what hope is there? Which is why I'm sharing here. So many times I've been ignorant. That's not a crime. And that ignorance came through because of wounds, and those wounds got attached to certain beliefs, certain systems, certain ideology, programming. But as I have journeyed to heal myself, to come to places of peace with myself and the world, through this seeking, I've asked questions of myself, of others, of what is going on? Why has this occurred? I've been asking questions of what is being human? What is soul? What is the unconscious? What are patterns? Lots of questions. And in therapy, I openly sought out a place where I could be lovingly challenged, because the wounding, the wounded ego, the wounds, the shadow aspect, behaves in a very dysfunctional way, distorted way, with all sorts of programmings and like codependency and criticism of thinking, overthinking, anxiety, with phobias. There's a whole system that can be created, and to start questioning that system is a very delicate, nuanced way. Not many people are able to do that, or maybe we might find it difficult to find people who we can trust have done enough work on themselves and we can resonate with. So I actually enjoy looking at different points of view, because I've had the experience of the release and the relief and the freedom of coming out of that narrow-minded, dysfunctional way of coping and thinking and being, to seeing a wider, broader perspective. So this is my long-winded way of exploring what's going on in the world today, where we're being pushed by, I call it the inverted matrix, to pick a side. Either you're on the side of those in Gaza and Muslim people, or either you're on the side of the Jewish people. And it's more nuanced than that. It's tragic that certain people, Jewish people, not every Jewish person, I'm not very up in all the politics, but I know that there was a Holocaust. And yet, I feel, one way of putting it in this way, that that terrible trauma experienced by so many has been hijacked by a few to continue the forever war, to continue the polarized conflict. It needs to be fueled. I know this is a long message, but hopefully you're getting something from whoever is listening to this. But it was a while back, I think it was 20 years ago, where I was in this sit-in, anti-fracking sit-in in Britain. And the authorities brought in I don't know what you call them. They weren't I think they were army, but they were dressed in black, and they kind of looked like police. They weren't dressed as soldiers, but they looked like police, but they didn't have numbers on. Anyway, they had big vehicles. It got pretty intense. And there was a mixture of people because this where they were wanting to do the fracking was right by this very actually wealthy village with big, expensive, it's an idyllic village, expensive properties. So you had retired people who, a lot of them bankers or whatever, who worked in the city in London and had retired to this very quaint, picturesque, thatched, small village in South England. And right on their doorstep was this great big fracking thing, and they didn't want it. So you had retired people, elderly people, families. You had protesters coming in. You could call them, I don't know, hippies. You had actually a spectrum of people going, no, this is not okay. And then that in of itself was amazing. But there was a point where it came in two stages very quickly. I saw all that and I thought, that's wonderful. I then saw this kind of big machinery coming in, and I then saw it was like a chess game, a very, very serious game. I'm not suddenly discounting it. That's not the case at all. It's like when people call this reality we're experiencing a hologram, or it doesn't mean anything. It does. It's vital. It's important. If it didn't mean anything, we wouldn't learn. We're here to explore and to grow, and so it matters. It's just a way of me trying to explain. It felt very, very polarized and very structured and organized and orchestrated to stop people being individual on both sides, to see the other as the enemy, as a clump, two clumps, dehumanizing. And then I saw this flash, a vision of the Matrix, not like the film, but it was all the light and the energies and the threads on a huge scale. And I saw that, again, on an energetic way, this, like a chess game. And in that moment, I knew I needed to walk away. And I knew my friends wouldn't understand. I didn't know how, and I still don't know how to explain what I saw. I know, I feel it, I understand it, but it's beyond the 3D. And I thought, I'm just feeding into this game. There are other ways to shift and evolve and stop this polarity. And where we are is where if we can consciously embrace that and choose that, yes, some of us are warriors of light. That is not my path. And so here we are, post 2020, things are ramping up. And since 2020, I've been listening to people with podcasts and YouTube that have ideas I would not have given the time of day to before. I've been curious, like, what makes them tick? Not people that are ranting and raving. I more felt an affinity with more the liberal democratic side. But I found during 2020 onwards that the people who were talking about sovereignty and freedom of rights was on the more of the Republican side. So I'm like, okay, what's all this about then? And now it's all being mishmashed. People are like seeing that with the politicians, it doesn't matter who gets voted in, because there's this, I would call it the inverted matrix, puppet players. that are behind the scenes. And I feel that's what's causing the conflict in Israel and Gaza. There's this other energy manipulating things, pulling on the terrible, terrible atrocities that have occurred in the past. And it keeps people stuck in the trauma, keeps people in revenge, mistrusting, wanting to perpetrate another genocide, even though they themselves are saying that their family, have been victim to genocide. I mean, it's madness. And so that's why I relayed about my upbringing and Bosnia, that since a child, I've understood the microcosm and the macrocosm. That's why that proverb is so spot on. And so it is important that we heal ourselves individually. We're not powerless in doing that. And so it's a hope in that, because as we each individually heal, it ripples out externally. But it can feel overwhelming to feel, how do we heal the collective? We heal it one person at a time. Like if we each walked along a littered road full of litter and rubbish, and we each picked just a little bit, we could all clear the road, basically. We don't have to think and feel and do it all on our own. And it only takes one person to see, and one person picking up the litter to then another person does. I mean, I could then go into stories of where I live in Wales. I'm on the edge of a small town. I won't go into it, but 3 times I have cleared, it's called fly tipping, massive amount of rubbish in the forest woodland here, because for me it's sacred. It's a bit of wilderness, and I will not have it there. And the 2 times I managed to get the authorities to clear it. The one time they said it wasn't on public land and they wouldn't clear it, and the farmer wouldn't clear it. So I dragged it. Some people helped, but I literally dragged and bagged stuff and dragged it through all the different fields and across the rivers and onto the side of the road. And then I contacted the local authority and said, there's fly tipping. And they picked it up. So I'm like, it ain't staying there. And I'm not going to get in a agitation over it. I will do something about it, because I can do something about it. Anyway, the answer is simple and yet complex, because the inverted matrix likes to make it all knotted up and entangled, literally and energetically. And so we just pull at one thread patiently at a time. Just loosen the threads, loosen it up. We may feel we're going to fall, because in a way that net we've been told that is a safety net. You'll fall. Keep safe. How many times have we been told to keep safe? Oh, for your protection, for your safety, for your convenience. Keep that net there just in case. No. Anyway, that's my share, which did go on for quite a bit. Stand strong in your light. Within you burns a sun that cannot be extinguished, a steady power nothing of this world could ever diminish. Merge with its radiance, allow its warmth to anchor you. You are the dawn, resilient, timeless and true. Here's an affirmation. I am whole, I am powerful, I am brilliant. Sending us always lots of love, and thank you
for listening.